The emergency signal cut through the darkness of space, like a knife. Elder Thema's voice shook with fear as he spoke into his colony's last working transmitter. His people were dying, and he knew it. Please, if anyone can hear this message, we need help. The Vorthok pirates have surrounded our world. They want us to pay them everything we have, but we are just farmers and teachers. We grow food and raise our children in peace. We have no weapons, no soldiers, no way to fight back. Thema's voice cracked as he continued. They say if we don't give them all our food and supplies, they will take our young ones as slaves. Our elders are already weak from hunger. We sent our fastest ship to ask the Galactic Council for help 3 weeks ago, but no one has come. Please, someone, anyone who has a heart, help us. The transmission bounced from relay to relay across the galaxy. Most species heard it and felt sorry, but they were too far away or too weak to do anything. The Galactic Council received the message and started planning a committee meeting to discuss it. That meeting wouldn't happen for another month, but in the dark space near the edge of known territory, 12 human warships picked up the signal. Captain Jake Morrison was drinking coffee in his command chair when the message started playing. The EU's Thunder was on routine patrol, checking for pirates and smugglers in the outer systems where law was harder to enforce. Morrison was a tough man who had seen too much war. His ship was scarred from battles with raiders and criminals. His crew respected him because he never asked them to do anything he wouldn't do himself. In 20 years of military service, he had answered hundreds of distress calls. He could tell the difference between someone trying to trick him and someone who was really scared. This elder Thema was terrified. Morrison could hear it in every word. Lieutenant Amy Brooks looked up from her communications station. She was young but smart, one of the best signal officers in the fleet. Captain, I'm reading this transmission from the Kythera system. According to our files, they're peaceful plant eaters. No military at all. They've never hurt anyone. Morrison set down his coffee cup. His face was hard as stone. How many ships are we talking about in this blockade? Unknown, sir. But to blockade an entire star system, they'd need at least 40 or 50 vessels. The bridge crew exchanged worried looks. 12 ships against 50 wasn't good odds, even for humans. But Morrison didn't hesitate. He reached for the fleet communication system that connected all 12 ships in his patrol group. All vessels. This is Morrison on the Thunder. We just received a distress call from civilians under attack. Innocent people are about to die if we don't act. I'm ordering the entire task force to the Kythera system. Best possible speed. The response was instant. Captain Tony Williams on the UES Storm was first to answer. Thunder. This is Storm. We're with you, Jake. Then came Captain Lisa Chen on the Fury, ready to jump on your mark. One by one, all 11 other captains confirmed they were ready to fight. Nobody asked about the odds. Nobody questioned whether they had permission from headquarters. Nobody suggested they should wait for backup or ask the Galactic Council what to do. When humans heard civilians screaming for help, they responded with action, not committees. Morrison's navigator, Ensign Rick Taylor, started plotting the jump coordinates. Sir, at maximum burn, we can reach the Kythera system in 6 hours. Make it 5, Morrison ordered, and send a message to Fleet Command. Tell them we're engaging unknown hostile forces to protect civilian targets. Request immediate backup. The Thunder's engines roared to life, pushing the ship toward hyperspace. Around them, 11 other human warships did the same. They were heading into a fight they might not win, against an enemy they knew nothing about, to save people they had never met. But that's what humans did. When someone cried for help, Deathworlders didn't send committees, or lawyers or politicians. They sent warships loaded with the best weapons they could build, crewed by people who would rather die than let innocents suffer. Elder Thema didn't know it yet, but help was coming, and it was coming with enough firepower to level mountains. Admiral Tom Harrison was reading boring paperwork when the emergency message arrived. He was sitting in his command chair aboard humanity's most powerful warship, the UES Vengeance, drinking his third cup of coffee that day. The ship floated near Earth's moon, keeping watch over humanity's home system. The message from Captain Morrison was short and to the point: engaging hostile forces. Civilian population under threat. Request immediate backup. But Harrison could read between the lines. Morrison was a careful commander who didn't panic easily. If he was asking for help, things were about to get very ugly. Harrison's communication officer, Lieutenant Betty Parker, looked nervous as she handed him the full report. Sir, Captain Morrison's task force is heading into the Cathera system. Intelligence suggests they're facing a full pirate blockade. Harrison stood up from his chair, his face serious. Get me Admiral Kate Sullivan at Luna Base, Priority Channel. Within minutes, Admiral Sullivan's face appeared on the main screen. She was known throughout human space as the Iron Lady, a tough commander who had fought pirates for 30 years. Her gray hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her eyes were sharp as steel. Tom, I just got Morrison's message, Sullivan said without greeting. What's the situation? Harrison pulled up a star map on his console. Morrison took 12 ships into what looks like a major pirate operation. We're talking about an entire star system under blockade. The math isn't good, Kate. Sullivan's expression darkened. How many enemy ships are we estimating? To blockade a whole system effectively? Minimum 50 vessels, probably more. Harrison ran his hand through his hair. Morrison's good, but 12 against 50 is suicide odds. Sullivan was already typing orders into her computer. I'm sending the 2nd Fleet from Mars Station and the 5th Fleet from Jupiter Base. Combined. That's 48 heavy cruisers and 6 carriers with full fighter wings. Captain Danny Davis, Harrison's tactical officer, looked shocked. Admiral, that's massive overkill for a pirate raid. We're talking about bringing enough firepower to destroy entire planets. Harrison turned to face his bridge crew. His voice was calm but deadly serious. Let me explain something about human military doctrine. When innocent people are in danger, we don't send just enough help. We don't calculate exact numbers and send a fair fight. We send everything we can possibly spare, and then we send more. He walked to the front of the bridge, looking out at the stars. Every human commander learns this on their first day. Better to show up with 1,000 ships you don't need than to arrive with 1 ship too few, because if we fail, innocent people die, and that's not acceptable. Lieutenant Parker raised her hand nervously. Sir, what about the Galactic Council? They might complain about us using excessive force again. Harrison's laugh was cold. The Galactic Council can file all the complaints they want after we save those civilians. They've been debating this situation for weeks, while people starve. We'll have it solved in less than a day. Sullivan's image nodded approvingly. Tom's? Right. The 2nd Fleet will reach Cathera in 18 hours. The 5th Fleet is 20 hours out. Morrison just needs to hold on until then. What if 12 ships aren't enough? Asked Captain Davis quietly. Harrison's face became tied. Then those pirates are about to learn why the galaxy fears humans. Morrison's ships were built on a world where everything tries to kill you. They're crewed by people who grew up in Earth's crushing gravity and violent storms. 12 human warships aren't just 12 ships. They're 12 floating pieces of the deadliest planet in known space. The orders went out across human space, like wildfire. Battle stations sounded on over 60 warships as crews prepared for immediate departure. Fighter pilots ran to their cockpits. Marines checked their weapons and armor. Engineers pushed engines to maximum power. At Mars Station, Captain Walter Thompson looked at his deployment orders and whistled. 60 ships to fight pirates. Command really doesn't mess around. His first officer, Commander Holly White, shrugged. Remember what they taught us in Academy. Humans don't do fair fights. We do overwhelming victory. Within hours, the largest human battle fleet assembled since the Border Wars was jumping toward the Cathera system. Not because anyone expected to need that much firepower, but because humans had learned a simple truth. When good people are in danger, you bring everything you have, because the only thing worse than overkill is underkill when lives are on the line. Commander Grix sat in his captain's chair like a king on his throne. His ship was the biggest and meanest in the Vorthok pirate fleet, 50 vessels spread across the Cathara system like a deadly net. No one could get in or out without his permission. The peaceful plant-eating aliens below were learning. What happened when you didn't pay tribute to the Syndicate? Grix was ugly, even by pirate standards. His scarred face showed the results of a dozen knife fights, and his yellow teeth were filed. 2 sharp points. He wore the bones of his enemies as jewelry around his neck. Fear was his favorite weapon, and he was very good at using it. "Sir, the Cathara are down to their last food reserves," reported his second-in-command, a thin pirate named Vex. "They'll have to surrender soon." Grix smiled cruelly. "Good. When they do, we'll take half their children as slaves and sell them in the outer markets. That will teach other worlds not to resist us." Suddenly, space itself seemed to tear open. 12 ships dropped out of hyperspace in a perfect diamond formation, their arrival so precise it looked like a military parade. But these weren't like any ships Grix had ever seen before. The human vessels were sleek and deadly, like space sharks built for hunting. Their hulls were dark gray, almost black, and covered with weapon ports that seemed to track movement like living eyes. Each ship was smaller than Grix's flagship, but something about them made his skin crawl with unease. "Unknown vessels," Grix transmitted, trying to sound bored and threatening at the same time. "You are interfering with official Syndicate business. Leave this system immediately, or face the consequences." The response came back instantly, spoken in a calm voice that somehow made Grix's blood run cold. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Human Defense Force. You are threatening civilians, who are now under our protection. You have exactly 60 seconds to withdraw all your forces from this system." Grix stared at his communication screen in disbelief, then burst into loud laughter. His bridge crew joined in, slapping their knees and pointing at the human ships on their screens. "Did you hear that?" Grix wheezed between laughs. 12 tiny ships giving orders to 50. And they're humans, those crazy Deathworlders everyone whispers about, but nobody's actually seen fight. His weapons officer, a fat pirate with mechanical arms, was laughing so hard he could barely speak. "Boss, should we just blast them now? Or play with them first?" 59 seconds, came Morrison's voice again, cutting through their laughter like a knife through silk. The laughter stopped. Something in that simple countdown made every pirate on Grix's bridge suddenly nervous. The human captain wasn't shouting or making threats. He was just stating facts, like he was reading a grocery list. But there was something underneath that calm voice, something that promised terrible things were about to happen. Grix tried to get his confidence back. "You Deathworlders are supposed to be smart. Can't you count? 50 ships against 12? Even if you're as tough as the stories say, the math doesn't work." 58 seconds, Morrison replied. Grix's tactical officer, a nervous pirate named Klex, was studying his sensors with growing worry. "Commander, these human ships, their energy readings are off the charts. I've never seen power signatures like this." "So what?" Grix snapped, but his swagger was starting to crack. "Numbers are numbers. 50 beats 12 every time." 57 seconds, came the relentless countdown. Grix looked around his bridge, and saw fear starting to replace amusement on his crew's faces. The humans weren't backing down. They weren't even trying to negotiate or buy time. They were just counting down to something, and everyone could feel it coming, like a storm. "Sir," whispered Vex, "maybe we should listen to them. Humans have a reputation for being extreme." "Shut up," Grix roared. but his voice cracked slightly. He keyed his fleet communication system. All ships, battle positions. These Deathworld idiots want to die. Let's help them. 50 pirate vessels began moving into attack formation, their weapons powering up with energy that made space itself glow with deadly light. They had more ships, bigger guns, and years of experience terrorizing helpless victims. 56 seconds, Morrison said, and now there was something else in his voice. Not anger or fear or excitement. It was the sound of a professional doing his job, like a mechanic about to fix a broken engine. Grix realized with growing horror that to the humans, this wasn't even a fight, it was just pest control. All ships, he screamed into his communicator. Fire everything. Kill them all. The space around Kythera exploded into violence as 50 pirate ships opened fire at once. Energy beams and missiles filled the darkness, all aimed at 12 human vessels that looked impossibly small against the overwhelming firepower coming their way. But the humans didn't run. They didn't even try to dodge. They simply began to kill. The first pirate energy beams hit the human ships like lightning striking mountains. 50 vessels worth of firepower lit up space with deadly colors, red lasers, blue plasma bolts, and green particle beams all focused on 12 small targets. Any normal fleet would have been vaporized instantly. But these weren't normal ships. The human vessels had been built on Earth, a world that tried to kill everything living on it, every single day. Their hulls were made from metals forged in gravity, so strong it would crush most aliens flat. Their armor was designed to survive the radiation storms that Earth's angry sun threw at them regularly. Hurricane winds that could flatten cities, earthquakes that split continents, and meteor showers that lit up the sky like fireworks. All of this had shaped how humans built their war machines. When the pirate weapons hit, they just bounced off. Like rain hitting a steel roof. Captain Morrison watched the light show through his bridge windows and felt nothing but cold anger. His ship, the Thunder, barely shook from the impacts. Around him, his crew worked with the calm efficiency of people who had trained for this moment their entire lives. Commander Ben Rodriguez sat at the weapons console, his fingers dancing over controls that could end worlds. He had grown up on Earth where split-second reactions meant the difference between life and death. His ancestors had hunted animals that could run faster than cars and kill with a single bite. That killer instinct lived in his DNA. Target the command ship, Rodriguez said in a voice as steady as bedrock. All main batteries, maximum power. The Thunder's guns were monsters, weapons designed to fight in Earth's violent asteroid fields, where rocks, the size of cities, moved at impossible speeds. When they fired, space itself seemed to scream. Grix's flagship didn't just explode, it simply stopped existing. One moment it was there, a massive ship filled with hundreds of pirates. The next moment, there was nothing but glowing gas expanding into the vacuum. The other pirate ships stopped shooting, stunned by what they had just witnessed. But the humans were just getting started. Across the battlefield, 11 other human warships began their deadly work. Each vessel moved like a living predator, their engines pushing them through space with grace that seemed impossible for machines so large. They had been designed by engineers who understood that Earth's children had to be faster, stronger, and more deadly than anything else in the galaxy. On the EU Storm, Captain Tony Williams smiled as enemy fighters tried to attack his ship. The small pirate craft moved fast, but not fast enough. Williams had grown up dodging Earth's lightning storms while flying cargo shuttles through atmosphere so thick it could crush metal. These alien pilots were skilled, but they had learned to fly in the easy gravity and thin air of gentle worlds. Human point-defense guns tracked the fighters with computer precision. Each weapon was controlled by gunners whose reflexes had been sharpened by a lifetime of surviving on the deadliest planet in known space. The pirate fighters exploded one after another, like insects flying into fire. Lieutenant Colonel Rachel Stone commanded the Marines aboard the UES Fury. She watched the battle through her ship's sensors and felt proud of her species. Humans didn't just build better ships, they were better soldiers. Every human child learned to fight before they learned to walk, because Earth demanded it. They lived on a world where the weather could kill you. The animals wanted to eat you, and even the plants were sometimes poisonous. Enemy fighters eliminated, reported Ensign Rick Taylor from his scanner station. 17 pirate ships destroyed. The survivors are trying to run. Morrison nodded. This was always how it went. Pirates were bullies who picked on helpless victims. When they met someone who could fight back, they turned into cowards instantly. Let them go, he ordered. But make sure they spread the word. Anyone who threatens innocent people under human protection will face the same fate. The surviving pirates jumped to hyperspace as fast as their damaged engines could carry them. They left behind 27 wrecked ships and the burning remains of their flagship. In less than 5 minutes, 50 pirate vessels had been reduced to fewer than 25 terrified survivors. On the Cathara homeworld below, Elder Thyma fell to his knees as he watched the impossible battle through his colony's telescopes. His people gathered around him, all of them crying with relief and amazement. The terrible fleet that had threatened to enslave their children was nothing but space junk now. How? Whispered one of the younger Kithara. How did 12 ships defeat 50? Thyma looked up at the stars where the human vessels now hung in protective formation around their world. Because, he said softly, they come from a world that forged them into something harder than the rest of us. They are Deathworlders, and they keep their promises. The humans had done more than win a battle. They had sent a message that would echo across the galaxy. Mess with innocent people, and Earth's children will come for you. Admiral Harrison's massive fleet dropped out of hyperspace, expecting to find a desperate battle. Instead, they found floating wreckage and 12 human ships calmly patrolling the system like nothing had happened. The UES Vengeance, humanity's flagship, settled into orbit around the Cathara homeworld. While Harrison tried to process what he was seeing, his bridge crew was equally stunned. They had rushed across the galaxy with 60 warships, ready to fight the battle of their lives. But Captain Morrison and his small task force had already won. Commander Patricia White, Harrison's intelligence officer, was reading the battle reports with wide eyes. Sir Morrison's after-action report says they destroyed 27 enemy vessels in under 5 minutes. Our casualties are ... minimal. Define minimal, Harrison said, still staring at the debris field that used to be a pirate fleet. 3 ships have some scratched paint where enemy weapons hit them. No casualties, no serious damage. The pirates either died or ran away. White paused, then added quietly, the Kithara leadership is begging us to stay permanently. They want human protection. Harrison wasn't surprised. This happened every time humans got involved in protecting other species. Once aliens saw what human military doctrine looked like in action, they never wanted to face the galaxy alone again. Set up Patrol Route 7, he ordered. I want human ships in this system 24 hours a day from now on. These people called for help, and we don't abandon those who trust us. Captain David Clark looked up from his communications station, his face troubled. Admiral, we're getting angry messages from the Galactic Council. They're calling our response excessive, force and disproportionate violence. They want us to explain why we brought 60 ships to fight pirates. Harrison's laugh was cold as space itself. Tell the Council they're welcome to handle the next distress call if they think they can do better. But until they prove they can actually protect innocent people, instead of just talking about it, we'll keep doing what humans do best. The truth was that the Galactic Council was scared of humans, and Harrison knew it. They had spent centuries trying to handle problems with meetings and committees and strongly worded letters. They formed task forces to study issues and diplomatic panels to discuss solutions. While they debated, people died. Humans didn't debate. They acted. Within days, the story of the Cathera rescue spread across the galaxy, like fire through dry grass. Species that had never heard of Earth suddenly knew the name human. The story grew with each telling, but the core facts remained the same. 12 human ships had destroyed a fleet of 50 pirates in minutes, then stayed to protect the innocent. The message was clear to everyone who heard it. Humans didn't negotiate with bullies. They didn't file diplomatic protests or ask for permission. They showed up with overwhelming firepower and ended threats permanently. 3 weeks later, Harrison's communication officer brought him something interesting. "Sir, we're receiving new transmissions, lots of them." Harrison looked at the list of incoming messages and felt his chest swell with pride. Dozens of different species were sending requests for help. The messages all started the same way. "We have heard what humans do for those who cry for help." There was a mining colony being extorted by smugglers, a peaceful trading world facing invasion from their aggressive neighbors, a scientific research station surrounded by pirates who wanted to steal their discoveries. Species after species was reaching out to humanity, asking for the protection their own governments couldn't provide. Commander White reviewed the requests with growing amazement. "Sir, these aren't just random calls for help. These civilizations are specifically asking for human assistance because they've heard about our methods." "Our methods?" Harrison asked. "Yes, sir. They know that when humans respond to a distress call, we don't send diplomats or peace negotiators. We send warships, lots of them, and we don't leave until the problem is permanently solved." Harrison nodded slowly. This was exactly what he had expected would happen. Humans had a reputation now, and that reputation was spreading faster than their ships could travel. Within 6 months, human patrol routes crisscrossed the galaxy. Wherever there were innocent people under threat, human warships appeared to protect them. Pirates learned to avoid any system under human protection. Slavers found their operations shut down by human marines. Bullies discovered that threatening the weak was a good way to attract the attention of Earth's deadliest. Children, the Galactic Council complained constantly about human aggression and military overreach, but they couldn't argue with the results. Crime rates plummeted in sectors under human protection. Trade routes became safe again. Peaceful species could focus on art and science instead of worrying about raiders. Other species began to understand something important about humans. They weren't just soldiers from a harsh world. They were guardians who had chosen to use their strength to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. The galaxy had changed. When innocent people cried for help, they knew humans would answer. Not with words or promises or committees, but with fleets of warships crewed by people who would rather die than let evil win. And that made all the difference.